been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.
What's up, guys? Tristan and Tony back with another episode of the One Hell of a Life Outdoor Podcast. Today is Thursday, November 7th, and Donald Trump is the president.
President of the United States of America. Let's go, America.
Oh, man. Nah, I mean, we got our political reasons, but we're very happy, and, I'd imagine a lot of people that are like-minded that listen to this podcast have their reasons that they're very happy for, too, so we'll just kind of leave it at that.
As my brother once said years ago, before it was even officially claimed that Donald J. Trump would run for presidency, he texted me, "Power to the Trump."
Power to the Trump.
Power to the Trump.
So be it.
So be it.
So anyway, guys, what's going on? We got the rut going on in a lot of the United States right now, or just pre-rut, things like that.
Let's go.
So we're going to, talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about some stuff with duck season coming up, and that's just right around the bend, and we're just going to kind of catch up. We haven't done a podcast, just us two, in a minute, and so we're excited to do that. So what's going on there, Tony Dad Vogel?
The first thing that comes to my mind is that you're going to be 28 soon.
That's right. This year's my golden birthday, so I'm 28 on the 28th, which is Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And that day, we're having Thanksgiving dinner, speaking of duck hunting plans, and we're going to be hitting the road to Williamson Outfitters to hunt diver ducks in the coast in Florida. Now, that's coming off the heels of opening weekend hunting with Kade at Delta Thunder. So we're going to get the Midwest, your rice field, shooting your freaking mallards, teals, spoonbills, and all that. Then we're going to roll right into the following weekend, and we're going to be shooting divers in Florida. So you want to talk about polar opposites of the waterfowl spectrum? That'd be pretty damn close to
Bro, and you guess what? Guess who is making a gigantic part of this happen?
Kade and Chris.
Kade and Chris? But you know what? Frog Togs, you have outdone yourself once again. It's a great time for us to be thankful and say thank you. I mean, we really appreciate everything you've done to support our mission, support what we do. I'm gonna make you talk about that person that sent you that message the other night, and you guys, and I mean it, Melanie, Mr. Will, all of y'all, veterans, everybody that works there at Frog Togs, we appreciate all of you. That from the people that that box this stuff up and send it to us, to the relationships that we've gained over the years. What year are we in with them now? 5 or 6?
Officially is like a partnership. I think this is year 3, but we had gotten into them just as a consumer. Like
this is our 4th year.
From the very get-go, because of, I stand by this. This is my 100% God honest truth take on their waders, is if you're the average hunter and you're hunting 30 days a year, 20 days a year, you can get these waders for less than $400, and they're the best price point waders that'll get you
in the market.
Yeah, for the money, potentially 2 good seasons at least of wear and tear without an issue. Now, depending on where you're hunting, if you're running into sticks all the time, waders are not going to hold up. Or if you're in Florida and you're hunting on the coast and stepping on damn oyster beds like we have before, it'll tear up some waders.
But they made it through that.
But
yeah. Remember when they made the upgrade from the old boot to the Ridge Buster? I mean, that was a huge upgrade. Huge upgrade.
Well, and the main reason behind that is because those wader boots were a one solid piece at that time. Yeah. And you would get dry rot on because you get all this flexion in the rubber. Now they got like a cloth piece in between that allows for the flexion, and you don't get that rot there. But
but it all came from them listening to the user, believing in folks like us that were just out there. One thing we've never done, and if you're listening to this and you're trying to work with a brand, the biggest advice I can give you, the one thing we've always stuck to, is that we only try to support what we need to give them the deliverables they need to market their products.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. You don't get into doing this to get a bunch of free crap. That's not why you do this. If you
won't last long.
No, you won't. It'll come through real quick. And one thing I've always done is I've always let them know. I've got a reason column on my Excel when I send it in, and the reason why I do that is I want them to know that dude, we're using this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't just stuff that we just thank you. Mm-hmm. I feel committed to every day of my life when I'm doing outdoor stuff to promote Frog Talks.
Right.
Even if I'm out back fishing, mm-hmm. I'm taking that tackle box and I'm recording my Java shoes and I'm doing all these things.
Right.
It's a lifestyle partnership.
Right. Well, that's no different than like folks at like Dirty Duck,
Yes.
I don't drink any other coffee when I
don't either.
When I got Dirty Duck, that's what I'm drinking, and I'm filling up reusable K-Pods to run, because me and Katie don't sit there and drink a pot of coffee in the morning. So I'm filling up my reusable K-Pods with Dirty Duck to run through, which by the way, they do have K-Pods, but, they do have those on their website. I haven't had them yet, but they do have them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, to your point. And I think the other thing too is like so many of these relationships that like we have formed, we were consumers first. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you really got to start. Like if I was going to, not to get down this whole,
what do you love?
Yeah. Not to get down this whole like long tangent, because we've talked about this with some other folks like Austin from Gator Waders mm-hmm. and some people like that. But, if you find yourself using a brand or using a product and things like that, and you're kind of wanting to get involved with a company in this space, I would really suggest like doing a great job of like tagging and promoting and videoing whatever you've bought from them.
Yep. Earn the right.
Do a really damn good job of that. And then at that point, when they have an opportunity to talk to you, or you have an opportunity to talk to them about brand ambassador or something like that, then it's like there's already been proof in the pudding versus the other guy.
There's a story to tell.
Right, versus the other guy that's just like, oh yeah, I got this yesterday and you guys are a cool company and I would like to,
My TikTok is great.
Right.
Whatever. No, it really just does come down to that. And I can't help that we have to just go straight down this path. Listen up, guys. Waterfowl season will be here before you know it. So book a hunt today. Williamson Outfitters offers exceptional duck hunting along Florida's Forgotten Coast, targeting redheads, bluebills, buffleheads, canvasbacks, and much, much more. Lodging and fishing packages are also available. Mention the One Hell of a Life podcast when booking and get 15% off your next trip. Spots are filling up fast, so call or text Captain Chris at 850-251-8650 or visit floridaducks.com. Tristan, and there's no way we can't not help but thank Huntwise.
Yeah,
Huntwise, y'all. Just the 15-second commercial for me is this: I used them all mm-hmm. back in the day for the money and the social media aspect of it and the functionality of what that product does, state to state. To me, is still today the best mapping and social media platform for hunting in America. Yeah. It really is. Who else has that social media piece? Have you ever found yourself just sitting there going, man, I just want to look at hunting stuff right now, because what the controllers are doing is they're keeping me from seeing what I want to see because of trends and everything else, right? Mm-hmm. I'm on a good, you're flipping through your Instagram reels and you're sitting there like, oh, dude, I just got 3 badass reels in a row. And you get next one, you're like, dude, I don't care about puppies right now. I don't care about it. But point is that you can just dive into it and just really and make some great friends. I have as well. So, but we rely on it. Mm-hmm. We do our predictions every time before we go out to hunt, and it's a very important part of what we do, man. But y'all, with all these partners, let's not forget about Jason. Ackley Outdoors.
Yeah.
You guys, listen, I guess, Jason, if you're listening to this, we don't talk about you enough, bud. You are the true American guy starting from nothing as far as a business goes. I'm not trying to
Yeah, he's a successful dude, and this is what he does on his side as a hardworking guy. Yeah,
dude, just with his hands makes these incredible totes. We got lanyards. We got turkey totes. We got duck totes.
And the cool thing about it is that we've both approached him about 2 different ideas, and he just made them and was like, now I'm going to start selling these. So like, if you have a custom kind of idea of the way you want a tote to be or whatever, he'll make it, or a call lanyard or things like that. But what I would do, we didn't plan to get on this podcast and preach to you guys about like these companies we love, but I appreciate everybody that listens to this that genuinely loves to hear our enthusiasm to talk about these companies, because we do feel passionately about these companies. This is not for money.
All right.
Yeah, we're not quitting our day job. Let me promise you.
Tristan and I deal with the same shit that all of you all do, and your wife's like, dude, why do you spend so much money on hunting? Okay,
perfect example. I was talking to oh shit, I was talking to somebody this week, and he was like, man, I don't even like know exactly what you do. I just think of you like the duck hunting podcast guy. And me and this dude, he lives in Florida. We go back and forth on shit all the time.
You're just the duck hunting podcast
and
guy?
I'm like, dude, I'd sell stretch film essentially. That's what I do. It's nothing glorious, like I promise you. And you sell cleaning service, so it's not like we're doing it, anything.
No, it's not like I'm on the Wolf on Wall Street. Over here. No, man. And we're just like y'all. And but Tristan, before we jump out of this and jump into the deer hunting stuff, and I know we got a lot to cover, talk about the testimonial that we got from one of our followers.
Oh yeah, let me pull it up and I'll just read it for you guys.
You guys,
I woke up. What was this? Maybe Wednesday morning, or
this guy put us in a position to never make money, because if all y'all did this and sent us stuff like this, I don't know if I could take any money, because it's just the humbleness and appreciation of what we do we live and breathe what we do here.
Yeah, and let me just say this, guys, like, we're not pulling thousands and thousands of downloads or anything like that. And this is really just a small, like, father and son, like, enjoying the outdoors podcast. And like, it really means a lot to hear these things, because it's not like we get thousands of comments and it's like we can just the luxury of missing a few because we're so busy.
I'd be pissed if we ever get to that point, dude. Right. I got to hire people immediately, and I don't care if it causes me to have a divorce.
So with that being said, send us a damn message if you want to talk about something on the podcast. I mean, seriously,
we might just have your ass on the podcast.
Yeah, because it always blows my mind. Every once in a while, like, we'll get a message or something from somebody that will be like, "Hey, man, I was listening to this episode of the podcast," and I'm like, "Dude, I had no idea you would even spend your time to do that." Like, it means a lot to hear that.
Absolutely,
it
does.
But all right, so this is from a guy in, let's see here, where is he from? Minnesota. He said, thank you for talking.
Excuse me, I'm listening, but I'm going to grab us a beer.
Yeah. Thank you for talking about how public hunters should treat each other. I found your podcast this year and it has changed me. I used to never let a hunter hunt with me if I beat them to a spot. Excuse me. This morning, I beat a dad and 3 kids and I allowed them to hunt with me. We ended up not doing bad in central Minnesota. These little kids enjoyed it so much, even though they shot bad. And then he just said, thank you guys for opening up my eyes. And I just said, dude, you have no idea how awesome it is to get this message from you. Thank you so much for sharing this and your support. Guys, I mean, to get a comment like that, I mean, that's just that.
And I love that, Billy over there, him and Dennis, Billy commented on. I love their whole push they're doing with the same team thing.
Yeah.
And we all have collectively, we talked a lot about that with Rusty. Mm-hmm. It's so great. The movement that we have right now, like, I feel like it's like equivalent to power to the Trump. I mean, it's just, it's such a positive vibe.
Guys, I think this is the most important thing you can ever think is I mean, I think a lot of the older guys understand this, but I think as a 20-something-year-old, I can kind of speak on this. Like, the most important thing you can keep in the back of your mind is that if we don't try to grow this sport, there's not going to be other people to try to grow the sport, because our dads and grandpas and things like that are going to keep getting older, and someday they're not going to be there to do it. And the thing is, like, for example, I just had my brother-in-law. Is it my brother-in-law? I guess he would be. Yeah, married.
Now he is.
No, yeah, recently married in brother-in-law. Just reach out to me out of the blue today and say, hey, man, I want to hunt. And he had said something to me back 6 months ago, and I was like, look, I'm big on, I will, like, do everything I can to take you to hunt. And we've talked about this before, but I'm not going to do it if you don't put in the effort to show me that it's worth my time.
Right, exactly.
Because if you're actually, like, interested, I've had 100 people tell me they're interested in hunting. But
there's nothing wrong with being confident of letting somebody earn the right of you to give you them your time.
Well,
and that's business,
yeah,
and personal. I mean, it works both ways.
Right. And it's like, listen, I know the amount of time and effort it's going to take on my end, and if I'm going to want to do that and, like, selflessly take time away from my hunting to help you, you got to be serious about it.
Yeah.
So,
no, dude, I remember back in the day, you know, like, whenever I was learning from the old guys, you know, and Jerry Dale and all those guys, Steve Springman, Bill Ambrose, Terry Hayden, names go on and on and on, Charlie Carlisle, all these guys, you know, you earned, it wasn't hazing, it was, you're earning the right. And what that includes is no different if most of y'all listen to this, if I invited you over to my house and said, hey, man, if you're coming through Atlanta, and Tristan and I are serious about this, let us know. We'll probably have a bed for you to stay.
Yeah.
You know what? But
And honestly, talking about sending us a message, sorry to interrupt you, just real quick, any of y'all that listen to this podcast that roll through Atlanta, dude, shoot us a message, because we would love nothing more if we have the free time, even if it's a Thursday night or whatever, to just go.
We might have you right here, right now.
We might.
We might.
We might just go sit up at Buffalo Wild Wings and drink a beer, like whatever.
Exactly.
But, you know. Anyway, continue.
I forgot where I was going with that.
Talking about the old timers.
So yeah, where I was going with that is, you know, like if somebody came here and stayed at my house, at least, or no, let me say it this way: if I went and stayed at your house, what you would find when you woke up in the morning is I would strip the bed. The bathroom would be wiped down and cleaned. I would take my towels and my bedding and everything, put it probably in the washer unless you told me otherwise, or put it in your laundry room. I'm going to leave it better than I found it. And it's the same thing when you're hunting with somebody for the first time and they're helping you out. Mm-hmm. Serve them. Be that rookie. Mm-hmm. Be that Padawan. Be that gopher.
Yeah, that's your. I was watching Star Wars last night, and Qui-Gon gets killed, and then freaking Obi-Wan gets tasked with training young Anakin.
Yeah, right. Well, thank God you've been easier than Anakin. but for serious is like, if you're going duck hunting with somebody, be the guy that's immediately asking that person, where do you want, how can I help with the decoys? Mm-hmm. Immediately, before anybody has a chance to, seize the opportunity to show them that you love it so much. Because guess what? They're doing this for you because they do love it so much. And when we see somebody like that, dude, it's like, bro, let's get it. Do you want coffee that doesn't suck? Get the Duck. Dirty Duck coffee is made specifically for the waterfowl enthusiast. Enjoy flavors like Morning Wood, Dark Dynasty, Cinnamon Teal Snickerdoodle, and First Flight to unlock the flavor that you'll enjoy in the blind for years to come. Our friends at Dirty Duck Coffee Company are now offering all Zero Duck 30 followers a 15% discount when you use code ZeroDuck15 on your next order. On.
Well, and kind of to get back to where I was going through, it's like a perfect segue from what you were saying. Brother-in-law, he that was months ago. And then he reached out to me again tonight, like, hey man, what do I need to do to get my hunter's education? And I was like, okay. And he said, he's like, I'm serious, I want to hunt. And I'm like, okay, here you go. I sent it to him and he said, I'm doing it tonight.
Nice.
I was like, sweet.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah. And and then he was like talking about hunting. I was like, well, what would you want to do, duck hunting or deer hunting? And he's like, I don't know, honestly. And I told him the two, like the pros and cons between each, I'm like, deer hunting, you better have a lot of patience. It's a lot more solitary, things like that. But the reward, you're going to get a lot more meat, things like that. And then I talked to him. I was like, I would honestly suggest for you duck hunting, just because it's a communal kind of thing. Like, I know who he is. He's very social. And I know it's a lot easier to get somebody out duck hunting when you can just like, here's a pair of waders, borrow a gun, things like that. But long story short, I'm hoping we can get him out at some point this season. But to wrap up my whole point, it's like, if you have an opportunity to do that, I think it's really important, because it's like, if every one of us just one time a year took one, there's like, 900,000 federal duck stamp spot, so probably like 700,000 hunters, because there's people that are dumb like me and buy 2 of them because I forget it.
Or people that just buy them because they like to support the it's cause, actually a big percentage of that. Yeah.
So imagine if you contributed 1 extra hunter per year to buying a federal duck stamp.
I think we do a pretty good job of it.
We're pretty big on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have 0 equipment. Tristan knows this. If my rule has always been, if I've got equipment sitting here and it's not in helping somebody's hands, it's a waste, dude. Yeah. Quit saving your 3 bows and your 27 arrows and your damn 7 pairs of Irish setter boots or whatever you got, dude. Put that into somebody's, put their feet in those boots, put those bows in their hands, those guns in their hands, whatever it is, pass that shit on. Yeah. And you'll know if you have the right person, because they're going to do what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
They're going to be right there. They're going to be the leader. Well, the one that wants to really try the hardest,
Well, and look at just directly thinking from this, one name we'll throw out is Drew. Drew's still shooting Oma's bow, right? That you gave him.
Yep, that I shot tons of deer with.
Yeah, and then
that's a Ben Pearson bow, by the way.
And then Mario, our good friend, is shooting your bow.
He just killed another one.
It's another Ben Pearson bow, correct? Yep. Yeah, so he's shooting that. These are 2 bows from the 90s that these guys are shooting that are effective. I don't know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No. And but that's just a huge part of it. So we if you're listening to this right now, it's Rut Somewhere. Mm-hmm. Is there a shirt that says that? It's Rut Somewhere.
For something, Rut's probably.
If you come out with it, I'm kicking your ass, dude. That is such a good shirt right now.
It's a Rut Somewhere.
It's Rut Somewhere.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's a good one. Yeah,
dude.
We might actually have to make that one.
That's actually what I come up with, a lot of stupid shit that Tristan just rolls his eyes at me about. But no, it's Rut Somewhere, dude. That is that's a freaking good one. Great. All right. You know what? That's the title of the podcast now. It's Rut Somewhere.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I like that. One thing I want to dive into, guys, I got the luxury of sitting across the table with somebody that's bow hunted for 40 years almost. No, yeah, 40 years.
42. Or 41, I'm sorry.
And has seen a lot of different things and has hunted in 3 different states for a lot of different environments for deer.
4.
And 4 different states. And I just kind of want to dive into some of these things that, like, as a hunter, what you're trying to figure out, and right now in Georgia, I think we're, in my opinion, seeing a lot of pre-rut activity. Bucks are. I saw a buck last night. I had the luxury of living really close to like a 1,000-acre park that used to be a farm until 1999. It's called
big shout out to Gwinnett County. Holy cow, man, they do a great job at their parks.
It's amazing. It's called McDaniel Farm Park, and I don't know the whole story on why it became a park and why it's not privately owned or whatever, but I mean, there's full on buildings still intact of like the main house, essentially the farmhand's house, the iron shed, the barn, all these different historical things on the property. It's really neat.
That's cool.
But one of my favorite things about it is I see deer every single time I go.
Yeah, you do.
And I've gone and counted 24 deer. I've seen Georgia bucks there that are once in a lifetime Georgia bucks.
Like, that's a high fence deer.
And they can't get hunted. They just can't, because
they're so smart.
It's the only, like, if you look at it on a map, it's the only, like, these deer have to cross a highway or something to get out of this, like 1,000 acres or whatever it is. Long story short, I get to see a good picture of what's going on with the rut when I'm at this park an hour, 30 minutes a day or an hour a day or whatever. And, as we're gearing up into this time of like pre-rut, Illinois, there's probably spots in Illinois where the rut's hitting perfect right now. There's spots where it's pre-rut. Georgia, same thing, kind of varies where you're at. Florida, your rut was in September in a kind of, so I'm sorry. But
if you're in the Keys, you're good for another couple months.
But, I just, I just want to, dive into for a second, Dad, like pre-rut activity of deer. When you're seeing a buck go from this is his kind of summer trend and just what he's been doing all summer to like, oh, now he's getting a little interested. Like, what kind of tips you off activity wise that you're like, oh, okay, they're starting to pre-rut a little bit?
Well, I'll say this is that, everybody knows that there's the bachelor groups of bucks, right? And quite honestly, what a lot of people don't talk about, and we'll talk about this, make me circle back on this because I don't want to dive down it right now, but really giant bucks, big bucks, late in the season, they group back up. All right, many times, especially in Illinois. But anyway, no, I mean, you're going to see the groups of bachelor bucks, and what's the most prominent thing you're going to see is where we can all see, and that's in open fields, and you're seeing them in late August, first part of September. They're eating the tops off all the beans. They're bedded down the beans out in their velvet, all that stuff. And, it's became a trend, no doubt, that, everybody used to say you shoot the biggest buck during the rut. But one could argue easily that giant bucks, or all deer, well, not all deer, but definitely giant bucks are way more patternable, if that's a word, before the rut. But there's a big transition that happens right then. And, once these guys start splitting up from their bachelor groups, you're going to see a tremendous difference in the amount of deer you're seeing on your property. These deer, and I saw scientific data that backed this up, but we had biologists on a 2,000 acre, 4 square mile piece of property, way bigger than a normal deer's home range. Did study by, all types of ways, from radio collar to you name it. They had bucks that were radio collared whenever they were fawns, all the way up through 7.5 years old. A lot of data there. And what was crazy is, and bucks in their 3.5 and 4.5 year time frame made big moves. They made big moves during the rut. And kind of think about it like this. If you were a cougar and another cougar is in a territory, you could go in that territory, but you might just get your ass kicked. All right. Same thing with deer, and it's not near the size of territories like that. I've heard a lot of study and of people talking about that. There's been a trend going with get rid of the giant fields, get the smaller food plots, because a lot of these guys will tell you, it's one big buck per food plot, and there's more to it than that.
Well, like real quick, one thing that I thought was interesting about that, because you sent that video, I've seen, just like, not so much in Georgia and Florida, but like when we've hunted Illinois, I've seen big bucks do the thing where they're not going to come any closer than they have to.
Nope.
And if I've grunted at a big buck and I've got him to come off a doe, and he came to like 60 yards. He never left a thicket. He never came anywhere he could give me a shot because he could see where.
Absolutely.
And he's like, I'm not going over there. I don't see anything over there.
There's no reason
I'm going to go back to this doe.
Yeah, it's simple logic. And I think that's crazy that we all think that animals think like humans do. And it's really not that complicated. I mean, it really isn't. But no, so you're going to see that transition. But the big thing you need to realize is that these deer, they go to rutting areas. Some of them don't. Some stay right where they're at and they stay there all year, that kind of thing. I don't have the answers for you tonight of every specific area and property is going to be completely different, the reasons why. But the big thing is that especially in a very competitive area, which I would call Illinois one of those, your bucks can sometimes, we had studies of this one, he would travel 4 miles away every year and he would leave right after the bean tops got chopped, or they'd chowed on him, and it wouldn't come back until February. And then he would stay there all spring, all summer long. And they're just smart, dude. They're smart, and you got to look at it like you got to really look at it like if you don't want to be eaten.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. This is not complicated shit. If all you did all your life was be encountered by a predator, you would start to follow the paths of a predator. You start to determine how they move. Where's that cat going to be at tonight? You know, all those different things. It's your backyard. Yeah. You know, so we just don't think about it the right way. I think a lot of times people don't consider that because we want to think that an animal thinks like we do, and that's not the case. They're just like a lot of people say. All a duck's trying to do is not get shot.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple. But all animals are trying not to get killed by predators and all that shit. So, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of territory that goes in with these bucks, you know, and I'd love to dive down one night talking about, I call bully bucks. Those are the bucks that won't be the biggest rack bucks in your area, but they're just going to come and beat people's ass. It's just, it's like that dick that you grew up with in high school, you know, that you're like, dude, we see the hair coming out of your shirt. We see it. We know that you're the toughest guy in here, but he's probably like not very big, but he just fights anybody. He don't give a damn. And there's bucks like that in every area, dude. There is, but no, to answer your question, that's the biggest thing I could tell you is that, you know, you're going to see a transition, and that's what you got to be prepared for. You know, is I'd be more worried about year over year what I saw come from a certain standpoint, a certain time frame, than I would be if I can't get them before they leave.
Right. The
potential that they'll leave. So.
Yeah, and you know, I think my thought on where we're at right now, just based off of like what we're seeing on trail cam.
I'm going to the bathroom real quick.
Okay. Well, I'll keep kind of harping on this. You know, I think where we're at and where we're hunting and what I'm seeing on trail camera, you know, I'm not putting a lot of eggs in that bag. Like, I'm not really like, I don't really care one way or the other. I'm just kind of like observing and just kind of creating like a game plan in my mind of like what these bucks are going to do. And granted, we're not hunting a big property. We're hunting like 15 acres of a good buddy of ours, Matt. Thank you very much for allowing us to hunt there and all that. And the situation on camera right now is like, we're seeing there's deer that come through. You get your typical small bucks, and you guys, if you follow me, you saw the small buck I shot the other night. And you know, you get your small bucks rolling through there, and you get your does and things like that. But the big bucks are all nocturnal. I mean, quote unquote, I say big bucks, I'm talking like 115, 120 inch bucks, like nothing super outlandish. But there hasn't been a lot of true like rut activity yet. We've had a couple bucks like sparring in the night and things like that. But you know, I'm just kind of sitting back and observing and kind of just trying to see what's going to happen, because my prediction of what I think is going to happen with that spot is that essentially we're hunting a corner of a field that in this corner of this field, there's this little pocket off the corner of the field, if that makes sense. And it's like kind of like a half C in the field where these deer can kind of feel safe eating in this half C and not have to get out in the big part of the field, and they can just kind of cut through on either part of the woods. Like, right? Yeah, and we're talking, this is 30 yards from one side to the other. So it works out great. There's a persimmon tree right up the way from it and things like that, and we can kind of sneak in there. But what I foresee happening as this rut starts to kind of take picture here, and we don't know how this setup is exactly going to work because this is the first setup we've had, or this is the first year we've had the setup. And what I was getting into, Dad, he just got back.
Yep.
Is that my prediction of what's going to happen is we're going to start seeing these cruiser bucks that are coming to check out. We might get lucky and see them on camera, and they come through, and maybe the wind was blowing downwind from that day from the feeder, and like just the way the camera is, we got to see them. But I'm predicting we're going to start seeing some cruiser bucks that are coming to check on, like, I know there's deer in this this area, and just see what's going on. But I think our strategy to shooting a big buck there, and part of this too is there's a feeder there in Georgia. You can put a feeder out, you can corn, you can do whatever the hell you want. But I think still to kill a big buck, these big bucks, at least here, they're not coming to these feeders, and if they are, they're coming at night because they know what the hell's up.
Yep. And they've been, again, that animal all its life. Mm-hmm. Everybody always puts everybody always puts all of the power on the giant buck.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's a deer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your oldest doe, shoot that son of a bitch. I'm not kidding. Shoot that son of a bitch. Not till after the rut. Yeah. Because they will bring in the big bucks, dude. The older, mature deer, it doesn't have to have antlers. They are not smarter than a doe. And if you want to fight with me on this, then come on over to Georgia. But I'm telling you, they are a deer. And a deer doe that is a 8.5-year-old deer. Michael shot one that was 11.5 or something with a collar on it. So it's proof. And dude, that's the smartest freaking animal in the woods, period. And a buck is the same way. But what a buck does a little bit differently than does do is they tend to isolate. Mm-hmm. And that's just a product of their behavior. A doe is a more social deer than a buck is, period. At least during the rut, so.
Well, to your point, like I think back to like what I think is going to happen is we're going to have the opportunity at some point, one of us, whoever's hunting and whoever's filming, is going to have an opportunity to shoot a decent buck, and it's going to be because he's trying to check out what's going on at that feeder. Yeah. And I don't think he's just going to come up and start eating at that feeder.
I also think it's because we've been very dedicated to the wind this year. We've been extremely dedicated to, but we also set up the spot. We'll talk more about that. Never mind.
Yeah, and I think that's going to definitely, it's going to play into our favor where there's going to be a buck that's cruising through trying to check out what's going on. And just see who's been in the area, and it's going to be a situation where if we play the wind right, we're going to have the opportunity to shoot.
Can I tell you how you kill a big buck?
Go ahead.
You guys want to hear this?
That's the whole purpose of this.
Do you want to hear this tonight? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to keep it simple, stupid. Mm-hmm. Play the wind. But number one, with the wind, you have to understand the terrain. Mm-hmm. And what's unique about what we did here with this tree stand is that if you ever go to set up a deer stand without knowing the prevailing wind, it's like kind of equivalent to trying to get in your truck and take off somewhere without your keys. All right. It's the most important thing that you're going to do outside. I think it's more important than the sign you see, to be quite honest, because a buck could just cruise anywhere. They will. And I got some tips on that, but you got to make sure that you understand what the prevailing wind is there. Now, you don't have to play the prevailing wind. Sometimes you don't want to, if you want to get that unique opportunity. But the point is that if you want time in the stand, you want to shoot deer, the deer, just 100% bank on the fact that they're going to walk with the wind in their face. All right? Just bank on it. that's the number one most important thing you got to do. And so if you're wanting to get hours in the stand, you got to have the prevailing wind to your advantage. What we did with this, and maybe Tristan, you can pull up if you're recording this, you can pull up a clip on this on Huntwise. But what we did is we know that the prevailing wind where we're at is always an east something, which is really weird, really, honestly, compared to like Illinois, you're saying southwest. But where we're at in Georgia, our predominant wind is east so far this year.
It's the northeast or southeast.
It's a very odd when it's a west.
Well, and I don't know any of the like science behind this, but if you look at it like on the on
Huntwise?
The Apple, yeah, Huntwise. No, yeah. The Apple, they bought Dark Sky or whatever. Yeah. But if you look at the wind forecast where you can see the whole state.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever looked at that where you look at the whole
stuff
state?
Spirals and stuff?
Yeah, and if you look at it, it's almost like the wind off the coast plays a role
into something
because you get more towards South Carolina, and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I could be completely wrong. Right. But you'll see, I've noticed when there's that east wind, it's like the whole state is like kind of like the wind's coming out of the west, and then you get over this northeastern pocket of the state, and you get this whip around effect.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It might be the mountains causing it. I don't know.
Who knows, yeah.
But what we did, and this was surgical in tree stand play. It's in the teens that morning, and maybe you're chasing ducks or geese. But now it's September and it's 85 degrees and you're hunting early teal or geese. As a waterfowler, you need dependable weather protection that will not break the bank. Founded in 1996, Frog Togs is not only the leader in breathable wader technology, but a company you can depend on to keep you warm and dry, head to toe, no matter your hunting environment. Stay bone dry by using discount code ZD315 for 15% off not only your first purchase, like most discount codes, but how about every single purchase you make from now until December 31st, 2024? Placement was, we learned the property last year, got busted, did all those things, learned the deer movement, but there's this creek that runs north and south, all right? There's a pasture that sits out in front of that creek, and about from the creek to the wood edge, or to the wood edge where the pasture is probably on average 50 to 60 yards. Mm-hmm. We knew the deer would come from the south to the north up the creek. That's what, at least in the evenings, we knew that's exactly what they were doing. And I said, what we need to do is set up, I call it paralleling the wind. All right. You won't hear a lot of people talk about it. I've never heard anybody talk about it, honestly. So I call myself kind of smart right now, to be honest. But it was a strategy, just trying to figure these sumbitches out.
There's probably some asshole listening to this, but like, this is the dumbest theory I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, guess what? It's not, because here's the deal. The wind, when we love it, when the wind is blowing parallel with the creek from the north to south with a slight east. That means it's blowing from the creek into the pasture with a deer that can stay hidden. Think about this. You're trying not to be shot, right? I don't just walk out in the middle of a 300-yard wide field. I don't do that. That's dumb, especially if I'm a buck. I'm going to stay in the wood edge. And where am I going to come out to the feeder at? At the last possible hidden spot.
Right.
And it's exactly what we see with these. They do a J-hook is what they do. They come straight down the wood edge. They come in there. They hit this roadbed, and they come right into the feeder. Mm-hmm. And they're doing that, and they're so comfortable because they think that nothing's going to F them up. Well, but I think so many times we're trying to play the wind in your face and not thinking about, now, would I do that in the middle of the woods that was 300-yard wide gap of woods, dead center in the middle of it and parallel the wind to my east? No. Maybe I would. It just depends. You have to go out and walk those deer trails. Mm-hmm. You have to look at the tracks that are on the trails. Which way are they coming? Which way are they going? When you look at the trail cam pictures, I always ask Tristan when he sends me pictures, I go, what was the first picture? Mm-hmm. And I want to see what direction that deer came from. You have to play all that shit and understand your area.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is it is kind of risky, and like we kind of saw that the other night, right? So you and I went out the other night, the night I shot my deer, and the wind was supposed to be like 6 miles per hour with gusts up to like 16, right?
Yeah, which is perfect in my opinion.
We thought like, okay, we're gonna be good, and it was the exact wind we wanted. It was basically blowing from the spot we were hunting over our right shoulder. Like these deer could come in there, to your point, to get the wind in their face.
It was going northeast.
Yeah, like we felt really good about the wind, but the problem was when we got out there, the actuality was there was not very much of the wind.
No, it was like, so, I don't know if there was 2.
We had never been busted, and this fucking freaking button buck, comes walking in and puts his nose up in there, and this deer is at the feeder twice a day. The dumbest deer in the woods.
Yeah, we need to name him something.
Yeah, the dumbest deer in the woods is a button buck. Mm-hmm. Comes in there, wins us. I'm like, sweet. All right. So, and then 5 minutes after that, I kid you not, a spike comes in, and he was looking our direction. I don't know if he saw us, because I was looking at him to try to, like, you know when a deer like has you for sure pegged, you're like, wow, we're making eye contact.
Yeah.
He never had us for sure pegged, so he might have saw something, but he definitely, something wasn't right. He turned around and left. He's leaving, and you're like, there's another buck coming off the road.
And my seat fell down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that happened right then. Yeah. And you'd grunted before then, too, I will say. Because I was, like, anti-you grunting, because I thought, like, you know, they're coming in here, let's not screw it up. But I think that night, to your point, like, it kind of played a factor of, like, they're curious.
Well, we snuck the shit in there, dude.
Yeah.
We snuck in there. And my whole theory was, we know right now that the deer are smashing acorns.
Yeah.
All right. They're coming to the corn, but they're smashing. So, like, we'd go a couple days and not see a deer. We're like, what in the hell? Mm-hmm. And I go out in my backyard, and just white oaks just all over the place. Just a quick tip on that. Don't be focusing on your red oaks, your black oaks. Any oak tree that's got sharp leaves, don't even give a shit about sitting around those. It doesn't matter. He needs an oak tree with a round leaf, period. That's the lower acidity acorn. They always go after those. Laurel oaks in the south, white oaks, that's what you're going for. All right. My theory was a deer is not going to move more than it has to. And if it could sit over there 60 yards from us and pound acorns, and then come over and get a little bit of corn, change the diet. The body requires different things, right? I'm going to throw a little, what I call contact grunts. And it's a very soft grunt. I never blow it in the direction that I think a buck would be. I always blow it away. And I don't do it when a train's coming by off in the distance, or a jet that's coming over the top, you know, or when the wind's real. Wait for it to calm down and give a little soft grunt. But that probably played something into it that night. But then your deer ended up coming in right after that spike left.
Like
my seat falls down and goes thunk, thunk, thunk.
They had to have passed each other. Like literally, it was that quick.
Yeah. But I look at Tristan and I go, fuck, like that, and he's like, what? He's like, it's all right. Well, and it wasn't how long?
It wasn't a minute.
Yeah,
these deer had to pass each other, and I'm
like, "What's up, bro?" He's like, "I'm going to get something to eat. See your ass later."
The more I spend time in the woods, which y'all can tell me I'm stupid or not, but I feel like you can get away with a lot more than you think sometimes. So, like,
before the leaves fall off.
Like, for example, so that buck started to come in, and I started to pull back one time, and one thing I've noticed I'm shooting my dad's Matthews Halon. For whatever reason, sometimes when I pull it back, it seems like I only notice it when I'm pulling back on a deer. There's like this little squeak. I don't know what the hell it is. If the arrow, like, I don't know what it is.
Huh.
I hear this little squeak, but I went to pull back on that buck, and I was just rattled, and the arrow just like was rattling in the fallaway rest.
Yes.
And then I kind of let it back down for a second. I'm like, no, I don't want to draw quite yet, because I don't know if he's gonna. I didn't want to stay, draw back for 2 minutes. And then when I drew back, it was fine or whatever. But I thought at that point, I was like, shit, that arrow rattling against that. He might have heard that and didn't even hear it.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, sometimes I feel like my thought is, like, sometimes you can get lucky and they're just curious or whatever and they don't hear you.
No, you can cause curiosity. That's how you shot your first deer. I did that on purpose, I mean, you're not going to get away with this with a buck, but Yeah. But stay with me for a minute. Mm-hmm. So I did.
Let me put a bow on our story here with the deer or whatever. Actually, this is a lot to get into. I might let you do your thing first. The whole story with that deer that I shot.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother. I think we need to talk about that on the next podcast.
Yeah, that's too much.
That's a pretty. Let's just say that I will toot my own horn once again as one of the best blood trailers in the world. Let's just say that.
Honestly, guys, like just without a dog, or I mean, this dude can find some damn deer. But long story short, I said during that hunt, we were talking about the wind. That's what brought this whole thing up. The wind wasn't perfect, and I was like, well, we had two options here. We can get down and just say, oh, we're going to play this completely safe and just, we've got busted, whatever. But I was like, you got to get lucky at some point. So we stayed out there, and for whatever reason, 2 deer busted us within 10 minutes. This next deer that came on...
But the wind did pick up it slightly.
Well, and this deer that came by on like minute 12 or whatever it was, for some reason didn't get our wind, and I was able to shoot it. So
yeah,
you just
and he made a good shot.
And you just might get lucky sometimes. I don't know.
We'll talk about it on the next podcast.
Yeah.
No, what else you want to dive into?
I think, when we're talking about getting, keep on the deer topic, we talked about like the pre-rut, we haven't really dove into like hunting these deer during the rut and like what's important to try to do to get
all right,
these
I got
deer,
it. Boom, comes to my head immediately. Hunt a shelf. If you're hunting woods, hunt on a shelf. I can't give you any giant data why, but I can tell you that 2 of the biggest deer I've ever shot in my life were on a shelf.
Well, think about it, and you can probably tell me this more than I can tell you this, obviously.
Well, I want to explain what a shelf is.
Right, and explain it, but a buck is always trying to, with the least amount of effort, smell or see the greatest amount of area that he can, because he's trying to effectively breed.
Yep.
So how can he do that? And now you can explain what a shelf is.
So if you know that as a buck and you get smarter about it as you get bigger, you start to go, I don't have to chase that. I'll just walk behind that dumbass and let him chase her down to where she just gets tired and I go do my thing. I mean, that's the reality, right? It's so many times.
That's crazy to say, but it's honestly true.
It is.
If you've observed deer activity, I've seen it in my short time.
So point 1 is, you want to shoot a big buck, you got to let the does come in. You got to let the does come in. They got to feel comfortable. They will bring you the buck. All it takes is
one hot doe.
Another
T-shirt idea that you guys better not steal.
Yeah, dude, that's I've been bitching about us not having enough money to do that for a long time. Mm-hmm. But you got to let the does come in, dude. Let them suck the bucks in, especially the big ones. Look for the big flat heads with the big ears. Those are the ones that are going to bring you in the big buck, dude. They are, and if they trust the area, they're going to bring them in. It's that simple. I totally lost my train of thought.
You were talking about a shelf and why a big buck's like a shelf.
Let me get back to that. So sorry about that. So the reason why I say a shelf is this. So imagine that you're hunting a valley. It's a V, right? And the wind, let's say the valley itself is going north and south. And let's say that the wind is east or west. Whatever that wind slightly tends to do from the mouth or the end of that valley, it's going to follow that valley. And a buck, when they walk a shelf, they can smell what's above them. And they love to do it in the mornings, especially when it's cold, because the scent's sinking. They'll walk these shelves and they can see down below them. And they're looking for the same thing you'd be looking for, right? Let me ask you this, Tristan. When you go to Nashville and you want to go find a party, you're looking for people.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for the music, right?
Right.
You look, hey, yeah, I'm going to Kid Rock's tonight, right? Why? Because you were walking down the street and you saw all the things you needed to commit to that place, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different for a buck. A buck's walking through and he's looking for all those things that he's looking for. I want to be able to smell. I want to be able to see. I want to be able to hear. I want to be able to, all these things. He wants to take all those into consideration whenever he's trying to hunt that, or when he's trying to hunt that doe, when he's trying to go after that doe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, I think that's good stuff. And, you know, I hope that somebody on here comes back and says, hey, I shot the biggest deer in my life because of Tony's tip on this podcast.
You got to hunt shelves, bro. You got to hunt shelves. The other thing is don't give up after the rut. Mm-hmm. Don't give up. My biggest deer to date, I shot on New Year's Eve. Now, what did that take? That took me not going out and getting shit-faced on New Year's Eve. Okay? So for you young folks, if you really want them, maybe you have to give that up. But no, for real though, I shot in the middle of the day.
Do you think now with like the popularity that bow hunting has gained through like social media, do you think that it's hard to say because you didn't have the social media, like you couldn't stay plugged in like we can stay plugged in now? No,
I can only stay plugged in at hunting camp.
Right. So do you feel like now the young people that are involved in the sport are there? It feels like the way that you were in your 20s, like from what I've heard, I feel like there's a lot of people that are like that now because of the Cam Haineses of the world that are like, I got to go that extra mile to get that. I mean, do you think that's...
Oh, I was psychotic, bro.
Do you think there's more people like that now?
Yes. Yeah. I think that because of the challenge.
Yeah.
I think
it's enticing, right?
It is enticing. It is from a physical durability standpoint. Dude, maybe, listen, I know how to become a millionaire in the waterfowl industry. We need a guy named like Cam Haines, but that just is a, like, dude, like all the times like in a wife beater and just gigantic muscular and just outworks everybody to set up all the decoys and everything. Just a badass like Cam Haines in the waterfowl world. We need that physical individual.
See, the problem is there's too much shit you got to bring, and also you'd have to be a damn good swimmer.
Yeah, you
do. And put up with a lot of cold.
Absolutely. No, I do think that it's incredible what it does now for people. Just to get to experience it. I've always said this, experience it in the way that you love it. Mm-hmm. Like this year, what I want to experience with deer hunting is going back to primitive archery equipment. Dude, the ultimate challenge. If you're listening to this and you think you're a badass, if you don't know how to instinctive shoot a bow and harvest an animal with it, which I have not done yet. Well, I used to mess up some squirrels and shit. I mean, back in the day when I was a kid. But I'm saying I'm on a journey to harvest an animal with this thing. And dude, I know I'm going to cry my eyes out when it happens because it's the bow, this traditional setup, this primitive equipment is the ultimate test of archery. It's the ultimate test. It's made me think that I've been cheating for a long time. Because I'm like going deeper connected than what I was when I shot a Whitetail Hunter 2 with a finger tab with no peep sight when I first learned. I thought that was my norm. If you follow me on this, that was my norm. Archery equipment has changed and gotten great and better, and I don't have nothing personally against it. I've been on it. It took me years to actually say I'm going to shoot a release. I didn't do that until the early 2000s. Enjoy the sport the way you want to enjoy it. That's the beautiful thing about hunting. People say, "Oh, well, why do you shoot ducks with a 28 gauge?" Enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it, dude. Yeah. If you want to shoot the spike, shoot the fucking spike. All right, shoot them. I love shooting spikes, dude, especially in Georgia. Like, I've got like probably a world record spike in Georgia on public land, honestly.
Dude,
he's got like 37-inch tines.
I got like 4 straight years of shooting spikes in Georgia.
Shoot the spike, bro. Shoot them. No, but that's the beauty of our sport, is that you can enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it. And you know what? If you're hunting the rut and an 8-pointer comes in and it's an 80-inch 8-point, it's a 60-inch 8-point, I don't give a shit what it is. Don't feel like you have to satisfy somebody else's desires for your animal.
100%.
It's what you want to shoot. And right now, with this primitive equipment, now I understand why Fred Bear said it, Howard Hill said it, Jerry Dale said it. Any deer with a bow is a trophy.
Yeah.
Bro, if I shoot a fawn with this deer, with this setup, that is like, dude.
It's probably the hardest thing.
The hardest thing, right?
It's the smallest target.
Especially in Georgia. I mean, our partners at Huntwise are offering an exclusive discount for Zero Duck 30 followers. As an elite member, some of the features you'll immediately gain access to are Huntcast, Windcast, peak kill times, property lines, owner information and phone lookup, 250 map layers, unlimited offline maps, 3D maps, social media, and on top of it all, save up to 50% off some of the top hunting brands in the industry. Download and explore the #1 hunting tool set today and save 20% by using code DUCK. They're about 20 pounds. I don't know, but no, I want to make that point about that, is that I want to talk more deeper another time about this whole primitive archery thing that I've been going through.
We can talk about the deer too with me.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure.
I think to your point, just real quick about the harvesting what you want to harvest, like, and I think it's okay to be fluid with that, you know, like there's so many factors that go into it, you know, like I was talking to our buddy Adam about,
I want a young deer just so I can eat the young meat. I love that.
That's one.
I love it.
That's one perspective of
it. Bro, I love it.
And I was talking to Adam about it the other day, and I was just like telling him kind of the vibe of like, we got 15 acres and then, you know, we just got access to another 30 acres, and just telling him the whole dynamic around what we're hunting, you know, and the deer we're seeing and things like that. Mm-hmm. And he goes, it sounds like you're recognizing that property for what it is, and you guys are utilizing it to the best of what it is.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself,
to the best of our needs too.
Right.
What our needs are.
Right. And you know, the other day, I'm pretty much to the standpoint where we're all kind of in, the landowners all on the same page, like, hey, let's not shoot the does right now. We want to bring the bucks in, but we're in this like pre-rut kind of weird deal right now. And that 5-pointer came in, and it's not like we're seeing a ton of, like, we got like 3 115-inch or better deer coming and they're all nocturnal.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're just having the, you know, pick of the litter here with these like nice bucks. So like this little 5-pointer came in. I was like, sweet, daylight, boom, that's a done deal for me.
Well, it'd be funny. He said, should I shoot it? I said, that's up to you, bud.
Yeah. I was like, yep. Well, and part of it too is just from a confidence standpoint, and I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but I'd shot a doe earlier this year and didn't find it, and
because she turned into your arrow.
It was just and it was just kind of a rush situation. Her fawn had spooked, and I knew she was getting weird. And arrows do funny things, right?
Yeah, they don't usually leave. You don't usually see them leaving with the deer with the fletches sticking straight up and down out of the back.
True story. On camera.
Totally broadside at 20 yards.
It's very weird. Now I hit it a little bit further back than I wanted to.
The weirdest shit I've ever seen.
It was very weird. But
it was the weird, man.
Long story short, unfortunately did not find that deer, and I felt really kind of just some type of way about it, because I'm like, it didn't sit well with me. It's like the older I get, winding a deer hits me harder than it ever has as time goes on. So
try doing it when you're 40 years in.
Yeah.
Like me last year, dude. Wounded 2 deer, and I was like, you don't deserve to come out here anymore. You know, that's what I was just like.
That's exactly how I felt. Dude, I'm like, I'm not gonna go.
Well, that's why I told you at that time, this is important if you go through this, folks, and you will. I promise you will.
Yeah, if you are.
If you don't, then God bless you. Mm-hmm. But I would say easily 90% of the bow hunters are going to go through this. And that is, you're going to question yourself. Mm-hmm. You're going to question your ability. But what I told Tristan to stay focused on is that he was like I could see his vibe. Like, I'd say, you want to go hunting? He's like, nah, I'm going to stay home and practice.
Well, let me preface this.
Let me finish my point. All right. So I was like, that's great. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Keep practicing. But in my mind, what it came down to for me was you got to just wait for that ultimate opportunity that you're 100% confident. You're like, yeah, that's the one, baby. And that might cost you several sits. It might cost you weeks. It might cost you months. It might cost you the season. But you stay dedicated to waiting for the shot that you want. And that's where it changes. That's how you change that behavior.
Well,
or that thought.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, like leading up to that point, when my bow broke last September, I was so confident in my bow.
Yeah,
dude,
you were.
I mean, I could hit a beer can left and right from 40 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so confident in that bow. And I went through a streak there through like 5 out of 6 deer, 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, where it was like double lung, heart, double lung. Like, these deer were not going far.
No, you smoked that freaking spike from a million yards.
Well, we went to Illinois, and I shot 3 deer in Illinois, found them all. Like, you know, I went through a phase there where I was like, I just had this feeling where I know how to kill deer.
Yeah.
Like, I had the confidence.
You're a killer.
I wasn't worried about it. There was no, like, buck fever wasn't a factor. I was just, boom. Like, it was just automatic. And then I got to this point, and part of it's new equipment, part of it's not feeling, it's just all these different factors. But at the end of the day, it turned into basically not being successful and having to relearn how to be successful.
But a great educational part of your career, that's something you have to go through, and it's something that you will go through. It doesn't matter what you, and that's the thing that's like got me going. Look, bro, like physically, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good as I ever was. Mm-hmm. And if I can go out and shoot any deer with this bow, dude, like, you can take your 200-inch deer and shove your ass. I mean, honestly, for me,
yeah,
that's what it is for me.
I'm really excited about it.
Dude, I'm so fired up about it.
I feel like, just from my perspective, just a challenge to watch you do and like to capture on camera.
It seems like the biggest thing I've been going through mentally with this is, like, I feel like a lot of times when I'm shooting my bow, I'm looking at a high school archery class. Mm-hmm. Because this thing is, dude, you've seen it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to, like, if we have video of this, we'll do it. But it's not a very thick bow. It's, you know, at most, at the widest part of the limbs, 1.5 to 2 inches.
All right. My last bow was like 2 3/4 pounds. I'm not kidding you guys. This bow is 1.5 pounds.
No, it's not even that. I don't think it weighs as much as a pound of burger.
You will not believe how light this bow is.
This thing
is incredible.
Yeah. And so it makes you feel like you kind of like shooting with an archery class or some shit. And, dude, I pulled that bow back and let that arrow go, and I was like, pop! I was like, holy shit! Dude, that thing really goes. But we'll get into it and dive into it. We'll do a whole maybe podcast on it. On primitive, because I'm still learning, bro. The challenge of it is incredible, but I can't not talk about this. I cannot wait. I'm taking that sumbitch with me opening weekend of duck season. I'm gonna try to be a Tim Wells. I won't be, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna let everybody in the blind try it. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna get about 3 dozen flu arrows. If you don't know what that is, it's an arrow. It's got a real thick fletch, so that when it flies up, you don't lose a damn thing. It'll stop quickly and drop down. We're going to shoot some ducks and geese. I swear to you, I swear to every listener of this podcast, if I do not bring home a waterfowl harvest with this bow, I will take the challenge. Whatever you come up with, son. I'm coming up with some crazy stuff in my head, and I think I better not say these things.
Yeah, you don't want to be held to it.
Yeah, it's not like, if you don't hit it past the ladies' tee, you have to run around with your pants pulled down. We'll come up with something. But mark my word, I will lose every arrow. Mom's going to hate me. I'm just going to buy so many arrows. I'm going to buy so many, dude. I don't care if I have to buy 1,000. I really don't care.
Start a GoFundMe for Tony's arrows.
Dude, please, go fund Tony's arrows.
I'm gonna try to record everyone and keep a tally of like, It's like, all right, so he's 1 for 36. He's 1 for 84.
Dude, look up a video.
0 for 84.
I think there's a video of Howard Hill smoking them back in the day on, dude. Oh my God. We talked with Rusty a little bit about it. Mm-hmm. Dude, to me, I just can't wait. Please, God. When that happens, just bury me. I'm done. If I could shoot a deer and a duck or a goose with that bow this year, I'm done.
Be pretty legendary.
I'm done. I don't need to go to Africa. I don't need to get a water buffalo with it or an elephant. But that would do it for me.
It's pretty legendary stuff. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in.
Son, thank you for a great conversation tonight.
Oh, yeah. This was, the thing is like we're doing so many podcasts and we're talking to all these other people, and it's hard to, we get a lot of topics that we think about and we don't get to talk about because we're talking with other folks about
we really haven't got to talk that much just because we've been busting our butts with our day jobs.
Right.
Really.
And so. One thing, we're not getting into a story tonight, but I did want to give a shout out to Venku for being part of the sponsorship of this podcast. What they do is they connect hunters to their dream hunt, because it's like Airbnb for hunters. So you can go on there and you can look for whatever the hell you want to do, from alligator to elk to whatever. And then they will connect you with an outfitter and get it all teed up. And then from an outfitter's perspective, if you're listening to this and you're the outfitter of the world that you're guiding, you could be guiding Sasquatch hunts, you can be guiding whatever, like Kade says.
Yep.
But what they do is they provide all the back end support for your outfitting business, your calendar, your billing, your website, all that good stuff. They handle all of that for you. So check out Venku Outdoors. That's the last thing I got to say. If we had more time tonight, I would go into making us tell some kind of the 1,000 hunting or deer, our deer or duck stories we've got, but I'm just going to keep it short tonight.
That's fair enough.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. One thing I will say, if you're still listening to us at this point.
Yeah, there's a GoFundMe called Tony'sArrows.com.
Yeah. No, seriously, on zeroduck30.com, we still have some hats for sale. We had a run of hats about a month and a half ago, but we got some One Hell of a Life deer and duck hats available, so y'all go check that out. And that's really all I got.
Well, if somebody actually listens to the end of this,
there's bound to be one, right?
There's a big change that's getting ready to happen. And stay tuned.
That's pretty good.
Big change for the good.
Yeah,
for the good. There's a big change that's getting ready to happen, and we're getting super excited to announce it. So if you listen to the end of this podcast, you got a little snippet.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's One Hell of a Life.
I've been southbound, I've been hellbound, riding on the midnight train. Going too fast now, think I'll slow down, standing in the pouring rain.